Hey everybody, it's Rob Scheer, the founder of Comfort Cases and the host of Fostering Change. You know what? I want to say thank you and welcome to season 7. Season 7, I can't believe it's here. Do me a big favor. I really want you to listen. I want you to comment, and I definitely want you to subscribe. So I hope you enjoy this season as much as I've enjoyed our guests. Well, you all know this is one of my favorite months of the year, National Adoption Awareness Month. That's exactly right. We just celebrated the adoption of two of our five kids that we actually adopted in the month of November. And for those who do not realize, the month of November, actually more kids in foster care are adopted than any time of the year. That's exactly right. The Saturday before Thanksgiving, the courts throughout the United States, and they've been doing this for 25 years. I want to give a big shout out to my friend Rita. She's the CEO of the Dave Thomas Foundation, where 25 years ago they started doing this. And they basically opened up the courtrooms for judges to come in on that Saturday and they sign adoption papers for kids who are in the foster care system. I truly do believe that every single child deserves a foundation. Every single child deserves to know that their, roots that they plant today is the absolute tree that will grow tomorrow. And a lot of that is done through adoption. I know as a young boy when I was growing up in the system, adoption wasn't ever spoken about. I don't really remember any kids that I went to middle school, elementary, high school, adoption was ever spoken about. And then I'm also looking at my children. I don't really think it's a topic. But that needs to change. And it does need to change immediately. I do think that, we need to start understanding that families are made in all different ways, whether it's through adoption through foster care, whether it's a surrogacy, whether it's an adoption overseas. I think that we need to realize that. And I think it needs to be spoken about because what do I say all the time? When you educate your community, you truly will see change happening. Well, my next guest, that's exactly what she wants to do. She actually has been for 30 years. She has experience in the education and community leadership. She really wants to see a change in that adoption. So, without further ado, I want to welcome my friend Laura Adams. Welcome to Fostering Change.
Thank you, Rob. I'm so excited to be here. It's
I'm
such an
excited to have you
honor.
here. So, listen, I want to dive right in. For those who are unfamiliar with the I Care for adopted and foster families, how did it get started? Tell us where it happened. What is your goal? Because our listeners and viewers, they want to know.
Yeah. So I'm an adoption support group leader. I've done that for about 5 years through ministry in our church. And through our own experience, other families, me being an educator in the schools, we know that schools want to help with, so many different kids, but they don't always have the language, the tools, the training, especially with kids who have had relational loss and maybe more complex family stories. So we knew that we could make a difference in that area. My board is made up of clinicians, educators, everyone has lived experience with adoption and foster care, and we put together materials that we knew could support kids. So we have two main programs. We have the Connected We Thrive training series, which takes schools through professional development, talking about our kids, the journeys that they've had, how they can support them better. And then we also have our connection kits, which are real exciting because that gives actionable tools. They're bilingual, bundled resource full of classroom assignment options and feeling wheels and all different things that can help during the school day. And our goal is to get one in every school, in every zip code, in every state every year.
I
So
love that.
big
And by the
goal.
way, guys, the whale that I have right here, and I have to tell you, I one of the things I started and just recently is that I decided I wanted to learn a second language. Now, by the way, my our five children, they're laughing at me all the time as I'm practicing. But I love the fact that these actually are bilingual, that they have on both sides. Um, you know, and this truly does break the ice as well. These questions, as I read, things like, what is the best thing about your family? These are questions that I'm taking home to answer my kids. What do you think we gain from educating our young kids about adoption?
Well, it's 2025. There's lots of different types of families. We want to normalize the experience of foster, adopted, and kinship families, celebrate them, have kids be joyful about them, and really look at families from a strength-based perspective. And I just think that that's a way to support all kids, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have to agree with you on that. The fact is that it's very uncommon in 2025 that we do not see some type of school that has students in there that are not adopted, that there's not somebody that's within that classroom makeup that's not adopted. But I also think it's an opportunity for us to, whether there is a kid in the classroom that's adopted or in the school, but I truly believe that we need to allow our children to experience everything that's out there. And I think for way too many years, we have actually covered it up. A lot of parents didn't talk about adoption when they adopted kids. They didn't even tell the kids that they were adopted until the kids were so much older. And I just think of the trauma and things like that. And for us as parents who adopted 5 children, we've always made it a practice to talk about it. All of these kids, and whether you have adopted somebody at birth or whether you did an older adoption, like when we adopted our son, he was 18, all of these kids have a life story before they entered our life. So, how do you feel about some of the new laws that are being passed in the country where they're actually making sure that these kids are able to get their information and talk about this?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. We know that to know your family story, to normalize your family story, to be able to have some understanding, helps with their identity formation, and it's really important for them.
Yeah, and the fact is you said that 15% of students who are adopted, fostered, or kinship care. What seems to be some of the challenges that they face? Because I'd love to see if they're the same challenges that our children faced as they grew up, knowing that they were adopted. And by the way, I got 4 kids who are of a color. They were adopted by 2 gay men. So you want to talk about the conversations that were happening in schools? What do you see the conversations that are happening there?
Well, you take maybe international adoption, for instance, where you have culture and race differences. Our kids, we don't look like the parents who might parent the kids that look like them. And it makes it very complicated, to know where you fit in, what type of, environment you can be in. It just adds a layer of complexity for their lives. We see, in school situations, because schools see the funny, articulate, intelligent kids before them, they might not be aware that this child has had this type of loss or impact of trauma from living in an orphanage, or, a lot of these kids, especially in foreign countries, sometimes they're found. And, the circumstances that are hidden beneath them play out during the school day. And we really want people to understand the why behind the behaviors and emotions that they might see, and to know that there are things you can do in the classroom, from talking about families in a very positive way, using more universal language, talking about families as opposed to just parents. There's things that we can do, and that's what we hope our training and our connection kits do for schools.
Yeah, I love that. And some of the things as I was looking through your kit, first of all, I have to tell you, I think this kit needs to be made for foster parents. I think that what a great opportunity for foster parents, because I remember when our children came into our lives, we were given very little information. The classes that we took, I write about it in my book, so I won't say anything because I get enough hate emails as it is because of my opinion. But I think that something like this, a tool like this that you've created, would truly be an icebreaker for foster parents as well. And I absolutely love that. The other thing is, as I was going through your kit, one of the things when our kids, because four of our kids came at a very young age, and I remember when it was time to go to school, and we had just moved into a new town. And we went in to go meet the elementary school. My our daughter was going to be the first one to attend. Our three of our boys were still preschoolers, and I remember going into the principal's office and sitting down and talking. And she was telling me about things like, oh, we have donuts for dads and muffins for moms, and oh yes, and then we ask every kid to bring in a baby picture so we can hang it on. And immediately I stopped them in their tracks, and I said, well, wait a minute. I said, who makes these decisions? And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, not every kid has a picture of them when they were a baby. And at this time, I was, in my 40s, and I have no pictures of me as a baby because I was a kid from the system. I don't have any pictures of my four children as a baby besides our baby who arrived at 6 months. So anything prior to 6 months, we don't have a picture of him. And I thought, once again, we as society are changing how we look at these kids. And then when you talk about the muffins for moms, I said, take away the fact that you got two gay men sitting in front of you. Let's talk about the kids who have lost their dads in the war. Let's talk about the kids whose mothers have died of breast cancer. And every single time that you send home that flyer and say muffins for moms, it makes that child live the trauma that their mom is not there. Their
Uh,
mom is not there. And I
you're,
will have to, Laura, got to tell you that the thing is that our school, and that's why I love the little town of Darnestown, Maryland I live in, they changed it and we do muffins for Mustangs and donuts for Darnestown. And I say that because schools have the opportunity to truly make the best decisions when it comes to our kids.
Absolutely. And, we've really found schools are embracing the training and the kits, because they even say that too. Well, what do we do differently? And so the kit actually just hands them a whole packet and says, here's what you can do. And we talk about the fact that with baby pictures, some of these kids may not have them, or it might be a very painful time in their life, and maybe they don't want to bring that baby picture in. So, are there options we can do? And usually there's lots of options. And the idea is to present it to the whole class because we don't really know every child's family story. And there might be other kids who want to take advantage of that option.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree 100% with you on that. The fact is that I say this quite often, all of us are drawn to our purpose for something that has happened within our lives. And so, for instance, for me, it was the fact of growing up in the system, carrying a trash bag, which really gravitated me to wanting to make a difference in child welfare. You're a mom of four, and you're a mom who actually adopted. So is that where you took that and made that into your purpose?
It did. It's amazing. It's been the driving force of our life. It impacted what my older daughters decided to do with their careers. I have one who's a pediatric occupational therapist, another one who's a child rights attorney. We just embraced it and we love it. It is just, I think, for me, adoption is how we bring the world back together. We all need to belong to each other. We all need to care for each other. And it was our way of doing that. And now our nonprofit is just another, step further.
I love that. And the fact is that we have a lot of teachers, and by the way, I say this all the time about our teachers. Our teachers are the most amazing role models we could ever have. They are the absolute creators of our future, and the reason they are the creators of our future is because they're molding our children. And most teachers that I've met, they feel like they're their children as well, and I love that. Um,
Mhm.
but my question is, where can teachers get this information? Where can teachers, and is this something that has to be approved through a school board, or is this something the curriculum, it just gets approved by the teacher? How does this work?
Yeah, so we've seen it enter schools in a lot of different ways. Our goal is really to, yes, get them in every school, working with state boards of ed, or in Illinois, we're working with regional offices of education, doing training, supplying them with kits. We offset the cost of the kit through our nonprofit, uh, but we feel every school is worth a $25 investment in all the kids that, might have complex family stories in their school. So we're looking at a number of different avenues. Kids can go to the school from a funder, from donations. We print them in bulk to try to cut costs
Right.
and get them out to everyone. We have 1,700 already out to schools, parents, providers, and we are looking at our third edition next coming up probably in January. And we're adding new tools, materials. We take feedback from the schools. We try to build, out what schools need. Everything's mapped out according to MTSS, and that's really helpful. So they're tiered tools, and they know what to plug in when. And yeah, we think we're making a big impact.
Hey, everybody, it's Rob Shear, the founder of Comfort Cases and the host of Fostering Change. We've gone back to once a week, loving our guests. But guess what I absolutely love? It's that time of year. That's exactly right. My amazing friend, Laura Coates from CNN, reached out and said, Hey, Rob, what are we going to do this year? And I said, What do you want to do? She said, We're going to wrap coats of love around kids in foster care. That's exactly right. Last year we did this and we blew our number out of the park. I want to thank Ella Vance for stepping up. This year we've got some amazing sponsors. This kicks off on November 1st. That's exactly right. We are looking for brand new coats from birth up to the age of 21. We are collecting them for the entire month of National Adoption Awareness Month. This time, we're actually collecting coats from all over the country because we're going to spread our love just like that. Laura is such an amazing human. She truly wants to make a difference within her community. And by the way, she believes like I do. Your community is not your zip code. Our community is our human race. I want children in foster care to know that they are part of our community and they deserve those brand new winter coats just like my children get, your children get, our children get. So do me a big favor, head on over to comfortcases.org. Click on my beautiful friend Laura Coates, and you will see that we're doing coats for comfort. Thanks, everybody, and I hope to see all those coats coming into our National Center. Have a great day. Do you find that schools that are more diverse into the inner city, more of our Title I schools seem to gravitate towards this learning mechanism compared to our private schools?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think we've had interest from every school. I think
Awesome to hear.
that trying to get it out there, get the message out there, get the information out there. Obviously, a public school has more of a systematic, approach. You can talk to certain people and get the information out that way. Private schools are a little bit more disconnected, so we are, just now making some inroads there, but we can supply, it doesn't matter whether it's public, private, we can.
Because I have to tell you, I mean, after reading all of this and going through all of this, I mean, I can think of a lot of private schools that actually need this information because, I think it's very, very important for kids to learn the difference that we all are, but how similar that we all are. And just because you are adopted and the family that you're with is not your family of origin doesn't make you any different than, somebody who was, has their biological parents. So overall, the reaction seems to be, exactly what you're looking for and people really wanting to learn.
Yeah, it's just a matter of connecting the dots to get them produced and out to the schools. And once we have those dots connected, I got to do a training a couple weeks ago and in real time saw 30 intervention specialists opening the kits, going through it, the reactions were, wow, this is amazing. I wish I had this 10 years ago. These are so beautiful. And the whole idea is that the kit's ready to use. So they can
Yeah.
take some of those materials, frame them, put them on their desk, and have them ready, for the kids.
Like I said, I mean, thank you first of all for sending us the kit. My team actually loved it. We all sat around after we got it and looked at it and talked about it. And, it truly is something that I think that we need. I think truly also need to connect with the PTA, regional, national PTA, and get their support behind this because I truly feel that the PTAs ran, by parents, and parents should be the biggest advocate for you, letting their kids, it's just expanding the grasp of everything that's going on in the world right now. Listen, everybody, there's nothing I love better than a great conversation, and to talk about adoption during National Adoption Month is even better. I think that this is truly a win-win for all of our young kids. What age do you feel is best to introduce all of this, Laura?
Yeah, we've had feedback from all different teaching levels, K through 12. Ideally, we'd love to get it in the hands of elementary school teachers because, once we get a foundation going, it just goes from there. But we've had a lot of people in professionals in the high school level too say they didn't understand the, identity component and what they could do to make a difference at that level. So it's really everyone.
Yeah. I
We're
love that. I absolutely love that. And I do agree that the elementary, as I was going through it, the elementary, and is the perfect target. And I always, when my team is telling me that I have to speak at an elementary school, I love it because those
Mhm.
kids are literally sponges. They are absorbing everything. They truly, analyze so much. And I always remind those kids, they're our leaders of tomorrow. So to make them completely well-rounded, is exactly what we need to do. And by the way, this also, I want to tell you, this program, it truly is the foundation of empathy as well. It really is. It's the foundation of learning that empathy, learning how, really put yourself in someone else's shoes. Listen up, everybody. Again, we're going to have a link right here. Show the love. Whether you're a teacher, whether you're connected to a school, maybe you actually belong to the PTA, maybe you're the PTA president. But you know what? I'm going to tell you, it will take absolutely the best time that you will have is by researching this, figuring it out, and figuring out how you can get it in your school. Because again, it's 2025, as my friend Laura said, and families are built through adoption as well. And, we need to talk about that. And children need to feel comfortable, to talk about it as well. And I know for a fact, as someone who grew up in the system, I didn't want people to know, but the thing that we've raised our children is to be proud of where they came from and be proud of how they got to where they are today. Laura, I want to say thank you so much. Everybody, please do me a big favor. Go visit I Care For AAFF.org. You're going to have a link right here. And Laura, I can't wait to see what else you and I are going to do.
Thank you, Rob. It's been so fun. One little boy said to me, "Adoption's so cool, Mrs. Adams." I said, "Yes, it is."
I love that. And adoption is cool. It is very cool. So listen, everybody, this is another amazing episode of Fostering Change. I'm so, so excited that you all tuned in. I'm excited the fact that you continue to do what I say, and that's have conversations. Have conversations, maybe not the conversations that you think you were going to have, but maybe after listening to this podcast, you want to talk about adoption. You want to talk about the fact of foster care to adoption, international adoptions. There are so many different ways that we can talk about that absolutely builds our family. And remember something, the fact that we all need to make sure that your legacy is about what you give and not what you take. Have an amazing rest of your day. And again, this is another amazing episode of Fostering Change. Take care.